Welcome back to the Starting Solid show, and as you already know, I'm Rachel and this is my fourth and final video. So far in the previous videos I've covered signs of readiness, when and how to introduce solids with some practical tips, the different textures from 6 months onwards, a bit about drinks and milks, vitamin D and lots more. And just to complete the journey through introducing solids, I'm going to cover a few additional points about what kind of foods to offer closer to 12 months and a few other key messages. You're aiming that by 1 year your baby should be having 3 different healthy family meals, which by this stage just need to be chopped up so you no longer need to mash anything, and 2 healthy snacks per day. So for instance, something like slices of egg, some oat cakes that we've got here, you could have chunks of cheese, some cucumber sticks, some carrot, something like that. It's important to remember that all food is new to babies and babies don't know what sweets, chocolates, cakes and biscuits taste like until they are offered to them. So if you can delay giving these types of food for as long as possible, all the better for your baby's health. This also applies to salty foods and snacks. So try not to share things like crisps, pizzas, processed foods like sausage rolls, pies and takeaway foods with your baby. I'm hoping you found Sandra's cookery videos helpful in encouraging you to prepare your own foods for your baby. As Sandra pointed out, there are some real financial and health benefits to homemade foods, and many of the shop-bought baby foods have got hidden sugars added, things like fruit juices, which Sandra mentioned in her apple and apricot dish. And this can lead to your wee babies developing a preference for sweeter foods in the future, which can have a negative effect on them accepting the less sweet and more savoury foods. So I mentioned earlier about nut butters, so here is one I prepared earlier in the form of a peanut butter sandwich, and I've served that along with some grapes. Now I've used white bread here, and that's because, as Sandra had already mentioned, it's not recommended to give babies too much fibre. So you can use things like wholemeal breads, whole grains and seeded breads, but just not at every meal or snack. Sandra also mentioned iron in her lentil curry recipe, and she gave us some examples of good sources, and that included things like all meats, tinned fish, fortified cereals and porridge, lentils and eggs, particularly the yolk. So here I've got a hard-boiled egg, which I am going to grate. Now this is a food that both of my children absolutely loved as babies. It's really cheap, easy and versatile, so I'm just running it down the side of this grater. And this was something that you could add some butter to, just to make into a bit softer, make into a sandwich. You could use it as a finger food, you could have it in a baked potato, and as I say, both my children absolutely loved it. Eggs are so cheap, nutritious and versatile. In terms of food safety, if you've made a dish with, for instance, a frozen meat or mince, so something like the corn mince that Sandra showed us at the end of the tomato and vegetable sauce video, once you've cooked your raw meat, you can actually freeze the whole dish again to use at a later stage. The main thing to remember is that you can't refreeze the raw product, but you can once it's been cooked. My next point is on vitamin D. So vitamin D is the only vitamin supplement needed for healthy term babies and children if they are getting a balanced diet. And the Scottish Government recommends that babies are given up to 10 micrograms of vitamin D per day. And within NHS Greater Glasgow and Clyde, we've got a new free vitamin D product. So all children under 3 are entitled to free vitamin D drops, as well as all breastfed and mixed fed babies who are having less than 500 ml of formula a day. Also, all breastfeeding mums are entitled to free vitamin D tablets. So if you're breastfeeding, you will receive the first bottle of vitamins on the maternity ward, which contain a 4-month supply. And after that, you just need to collect them from a pharmacy. All you need to do is just ask at the counter. So, let's talk money. So the next point I wanted to mention is the benefits of home cooked food versus shop bought baby foods like jars and pouches. So not only are these items of homemade foods much healthier for your baby, Sandra showed us how much more appropriate the texture is, not to mention the huge cost savings compared to the shop-bought equivalents. So at the end of 2020, we had a group of dietetic students did a fantastic piece of work on comparing the costs of recipes within our Fun First Foods booklet versus shop-bought equivalents. So this piece of work showed us that buying the shop-bought jars or pouches cost us from double to a whopping 27 times the price of the homemade version. Huge cost savings. I'm thinking this gives us good evidence that homemade foods are the way to go. The figures that were obtained in the report are available via a link at the bottom of the screen if you want to have a read. So this video completes my part of our Starting Solid show. If you need any more support, please speak to your health visitor. There is some further information in the links below, and remember to use your Fun First Foods booklet, which contains lots and lots of helpful information.